Cadence and I sat at the table enjoying hot tea. Cadence, my wife, was in a particularly joyful mood. "Roger, you'll never guess who showed up at our meeting this afternoon." I shrugged my shoulders in confusion. "No, honey, I have no idea. But it must be someone special if you're so excited." It seems incredible even now, but we were sitting chatting about what to do for our summer holiday, and Nigel Jameson came in. We were part of the theater society for many years, and Cadence often acted in plays that the society organized. In recent years, she has taken on a more senior position and helped lead the society. Now she was on the committee and was considered a kind of leading light. Nigel Jameson's name immediately jumped out to me as he was a semi-celebrity. He has acted in several films and television shows. "Wow, what was he doing at your meeting?" She could barely contain her excitement. "It turns out he's bought a property on the outskirts of the village, on Ramsbottom Lane. He's going to go local." "My God, we're going to have a celebrity in town. That should interest the local single women." She gave me an angry look. "Stop it, Roger. He's a married man. Anyway, he wants to be in our next play." "What? He wants to play a role in your next play? Oh my God, this seems a little unbelievable. Has his career gone downhill or something?" "Oh, stop being so mean. No, he decided to step away from the bright lights, but still wants to stay in the game, so to speak. So he reached out to us and offered his services." "Oh, well, I guess it could be good for the group if he doesn't mind using his name for promotional purposes. How is he anyway? He always seems so pompous on TV." She frowned. "Why do you say that? Actually, he's great, very nice, and he already has some great ideas for the group." I played a small role in the activities of the theater group. Being an electrician by trade, I ran their sound table and lighting when they had a play. I was never interested in acting or drama, so I only participated to support Cadence. She was completely and passionately obsessed with it. Over time, when the children left for university, she used this as a way to fill the void. Gerald, our eldest, studied law, and Michael, our middle, studied sports science. Our youngest, Diana, and yes, she is named after that same Diana, Cadence was obsessed with her. Dee, although still living at home, was a social butterfly like her mother. Her circle of friends was huge. She liked to be the center of attention and enjoyed being in the spotlight. She studied English at school with grandiose dreams of becoming a writer. Her backup plan was to become a journalist. I haven't seen Cadence this excited about anything in years. I think we've been a little stuck in a rut lately, Cadence with her drama society and me with work. Lately, it seemed like we were living separate lives in many ways, so seeing her so excited was nice, although by the end of the evening, I was sick of hearing about Nigel Bloody Jamison, that's for sure. Cadence, although 42 years old, was a very attractive woman, slim and with a good figure. Even after the birth of 3 children, she maintained excellent shape. I attributed this to her passion for cycling. She never went anywhere by car. She was riding a bicycle. Every day she could be seen circling around the village. She looked gorgeous, her long, silky, naturally blonde hair flowing in the wind, her summer dress flowing around her. I often caught local men casting admiring glances at her. It made me smile and proud. When she became involved in the theatrical society, she quickly became a star, not only because of her appearance, but also because she was a natural actress and easily took on roles. The next day, out of pure curiosity, I drove along Ramsbottom Lane. It's been a long time since I last went there. I only knew which house was Nigel's by the many cool cars in their parking lot. It's been a long time since I've seen such a collection of very expensive cars. It was an estate bordering a mansion, very grand. You can say that I was impressed. Our little village was a quiet place, which was the reason why Cadence and I chose it. After having our children, we decided that we wanted them to grow up in a small community with social values. where they would be safe from some of the influences available to children in the concrete jungle of Greater London. So we spent many weeks endlessly driving around the English countryside until we stumbled upon this little paradise. Upper Piddlesworth is a small village on the Dorset coast, and it was perfect for us. The village was large enough to meet most needs, but was close to the sea and the natural beauty of the surrounding farms. After much searching, we finally found a great house on the edge of the village with rambling grounds and lots of bedrooms. Indeed, when you move away from the hustle and bustle of city life, you can get more for the same money. Life was wonderfully idyllic. However, I felt that Cadence was feeling the effects of an empty nest. After the boys left, the house seemed big and empty, even though I felt it. The only good thing that happened after they left was that Cadence's relationship with Diana really blossomed. It wasn't that their relationship had been bad before. It was just that with the boys in the house, Cadence's time was split between them. Now that Diana had entered her teenage years, it was nice to see how well she got along with her mother. She was the center of her universe. Teenage girls go astray so often, and seeing mother and daughter form such a close relationship was encouraging for the father. Diana, a very attractive girl, began to attract the attention of local boys. As the week unfolded, it became clear that I would have to meet Nigel. I heard his name on every corner. The committee had a couple of meetings to discuss the options and plays that Nigel had suggested. I decided to wait until Wednesday of the following week when the group had its committee meeting. It was not customary for me to announce my arrival, just as it was not customary for me to burst in without warning. I showed up with a bag of tools, pretending to be fixing the lighting. In the light booth, I observed Nigel communicating and interacting with other committee members. I was amazed at how easily he charmed everyone around him. All the women, and even some men, admired him as if he were a megastar. Their admiration for his celebrity was amazing. I had always considered myself an ordinary guy, and I found this sycophantic fawning rather off-putting. Even my wife was hanging on him like a moth to a light. I didn't wait for the show. I've seen enough. Perhaps it was jealousy on my part. But this veneration of a man who, let's be honest, was nothing more than a supporting actor irritated me. At home that night, Cadence could not talk about anything except the meeting and the chosen play. She was in a state of delight when she told me about it. Oh my God, you won't believe this, but Nigel himself wrote the script. Really, what is he talking about? I asked. She cast a thoughtful side glance at me. It's about a marriage in trouble. The wife is having an affair. God, that sounds terrible, I muttered. What do others think? Because it sounds very cheesy. The decision hasn't been made yet. We're still discussing it. There has to be something better than this. Really, it doesn't seem like anything the group would be interested in. She cringed a little. It raised a few eyebrows. Well, I guess we'll wait with bated breath, I muttered quietly. Can I look at the script? She seemed a little nervous as she handed it to me. While Cadence bustled around in the kitchen, I quickly skimmed through some of the pages, glancing at her from time to time. Her face was bright red. I haven't seen her blush this much in years. The text was full of simulated sex scenes, lots of semi-nude scenes, and the dialogue bordered on the plot of an adult film. I threw it on the table. God, I hope you're kidding. This is the worst kind of garbage. This is just bullshit. She cringed at my abrupt refusal. It's a little outside our usual comfort, I admit. But it's a good thing, isn't it? No, damn it, it's terrible. Cheap vulgarity. Besides, it's poorly written. You're too harsh. Honey, it's not that bad. Not too bad. Oh my God, Cadence, where do you think you'll find an actress to play the leading role? None of our group would agree to this. She shuddered, but answered hesitantly. In fact, Nigel suggested that I would be perfect for the lead role. I choked on my tea. I hope you answered him damn well. It was actually quite flattering. It's nice to know that he thought I would be suitable to play next to him. So he's going to play in it. She nodded. Yes, dear, he's going to play the leading role. I picked up the script and glared at her, then back at the script. Do you understand that you will have to be almost naked for the entire play? Her grimace told me that she understood this. She was about to say something, but I interrupted her. Are you going to sit here and tell me that you're ready to stand on stage in front of the entire village in nothing but your underwear? It's not so bad, dear. It will be a chance to act on stage with one of England's leading actors. Leading actors are my asses. He's already faded into the background. His career ended years ago. Lately, he's only been seen in dog food commercials. Stop being so angry. Nothing has been decided yet. We're still thinking. We have a meeting again Friday night to discuss it. I just hope others see it for what it is. She seemed upset by my lack of support. Roger, if the others agree, I'd like to participate. Forget it, Cadence. The others will never agree. She shuddered anxiously. What if they agree? Will you support me in participating? I wrinkled my nose and muttered. Maybe, depending on what role you are offered. But I will tell you one thing. You can forget about the leading role, because I will never support it. The house became cool that night. Cadence was offended. I wondered if she was serious about this. Cadence and I have often discussed the world of acting and the media hysteria that surrounds it. We discussed the roles that the actors had to play. Luckily, she and I saw it the same way. When the latest celebrity breakup news hit the headlines, we saw the pain and suffering. But more than that, we saw how the breakup was fueled by scenes of intimacy in movies and how it must be impossible to be that close to another person, to kiss and be intimate with them, and not having feelings for him, and how hard that must be for partners. We both thought this whole industry was so fake and superficial. This was part of the reason we decided that when she started accepting roles in plays in the theater, she would not accept roles that required her to kiss other actors. We didn't want to create tension in our marriage. Friday came quickly. The whole village was talking only about the damn play. For the first time, I decided to use my position on the committee. I have been an official member for a long time. I was responsible for the design and construction of the sets, and I managed the sound and lighting equipment for their productions. I usually skipped committee meetings. They were too boring for me. I usually waited until the meetings were about set design and construction. But this time I couldn't miss it. This time I was going to speak my mind loudly. Unfortunately, I had a longer day than planned at work. I arrived at the theater to find the parking lot full. Looks like it's going to be a very busy night. I walked in, and they were all already sitting at tables joined together. Cadence noticed me and came over to greet me. "What are you doing here?" Her voice trembled. I came to express my opinion. She looked very worried and almost pleading. "Roger, please don't make a scene." I snorted derisively. "Not my intention, dear. Just exercising my rights as an elected member of the committee." We walked back to the table and people moved chairs so I could sit next to Cadence. As soon as we sat down, I noticed the only person I didn't know, Nigel Jamieson. He saw me looking at him and stood up to lean across the table and extend his hand. "Good evening, Nigel Jamieson." I shook his hand without answering. He frowned, but sat back down. What a nasty guy. That was my first impression, and it hasn't changed. The meeting was chaired by Anthony Gibson. "Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get down to business. The play Nigel suggested to us for the final performance of the season. I assume everyone has read it." There was a chorus of yes responses. "Then I'll give the floor to Nigel. He'd like a chance to talk to all of us." Nigel stood up, cleared his throat to clear his throat, and began. "Thank you everyone for inviting me to your little group. It was a pleasure meeting and talking with you all." He looked around the team. "I also want to say thank you for considering my script. This is my first serious screenwriting experience. I know it may be a little riskier than what you usually imagine, but I think that by going beyond that, you'll attract a whole new audience. I'm looking forward to getting involved. You might be interested to know that I've been in touch with a director friend, Harry Leonard. He's very interested in directing." This caused a collective gasp. Harry Leonard was a widely respected director with a highly respected reputation. As soon as Harry read the script, it was sold. He thinks it could be a hit. If all goes well here, he's offered to take it to a few bigger theaters. This caught the group's attention. Anthony nodded and took control. "Thank you, Nigel. There has been a lot of discussion about this project. I think we should have a round-table discussion to hear everyone's views." Sitting to his right, Janice quickly stood up. "Sorry, Nigel, but it's not for us. I don't want to offend you, but it's disturbing. Honestly, the language and sex scenes mean my answer is no." She sat back down to the group's murmurs of approval. Claire was next. She glanced at everyone before adding her thoughts. "Sorry, but I completely agree with Janice. There's no way I would be comfortable coming forward with this. It's too rude." Next up was Cadence. She, like the others, stood up to address the table. "I think this play could be an amazing journey for us. I agree, it's far from our usual. I love the script and would love to be involved." She looked around the group. "Let's try something new, a little testing, innovative for all of us. We will all learn." It was my turn, and as I stood up, Cadence looked at me with great concern. As I stood there, I saw that others also had tense expressions on their faces. "I'm sorry if this offends anyone, but I've read the script and I have to say it's absolute filth at its worst." Nigel quickly interrupted. "Wait a minute, old man. There's no need to say that." I looked at him angrily. "Sit down. You've already spoken." He looked around the group for support. Cadence pulled my hand. "Roger, please sit down." "No, I'll tell you my story. This script is the most disgusting pile of smut I've ever read. It's completely disgusting. The language itself should tell you how wrong it is. This is not theater, and there's no way I'm going to participate." I sat down to a chorus of approval. The rest of the group was split up. A couple of the younger guys were interested, but only one of the other women, Avery, was in favor. Felicity was almost as judgmental as I was. Anthony had difficulty restoring order. "Okay, Nigel, I'll ask you to leave us for now. We'll vote and call you back to give an answer." Nigel nodded, stood up, and left the room. "Okay, group, let's show our hands. Those in favor, raise your hands." Cadence and only 3 others raised their hands. "Who's against it?" Anthony announced. A sea of hands rose up, including mine. There were many more opponents than supporters. "Thank you," said Anthony. "Let's call Nigel back and give him the bad news. We'll have to find another play, so get to thinking." When Nigel received the news, he was very annoyed. After the meeting ended, everyone gathered in the kitchen to drink tea and eat biscuits. Cadence walked up to him. "I'm sorry, Nigel. I was hoping, but it seems it was in vain." Felicity walked over to talk to Cadence. They had been friends for many years. I guess you could call them best friends. At home that night, I was putting the kettle on when Cadence showed up. She was still out of breath from her bike ride home. We sat down at the table, and she sighed. "Damn it. It was terrible." I shrugged indifferently. "You couldn't be surprised. No group would like that." "Not after your performance," she snorted, displeased. "Oh my God, Roger, you were so rude. Poor Nigel. It was completely inappropriate." "Sorry, but I couldn't just sit there and be quiet. I'm glad it's over." She shook her head in disbelief. "I can't believe how narrow-minded you are. Damn, I can't help but think we missed a fantastic opportunity to do something special. Nigel will never want anything to do with us again. He must feel terrible. I'm sure he's heard worse." Diana came down and joyfully asked, "How was your meeting?" Cadence responded sharply, "It was a disaster. Your father behaved terribly. I was absolutely desperate for him. Diana gave me a strange expression. "Dad, what did you do?" she asked with a mocking intonation. "I'll tell you what he did. He was just rude to Nigel. He was disgusting." Diana quickly left, heading to bed, leaving Cadence and I to talk. "Darling, you weren't seriously considering this, were you?" I asked. "Actually, I have. I know it's a little different from our previous roles. But think about it, Roger, the opportunity to work with real actors, a real director. Harry fucking Leonard, in heaven. It would be incredible. We always said that you would never accept roles that involved kissing. This damn script would have included so much more than that." She sighed. "Honey, it's just kissing. Nothing terrible." "What about the sex scenes?" "Oh God, it's just a simulation. There's nothing obscene." She hesitated, whispering almost guiltily, "There's nothing indecent there." Later, as we sat in the living room, Cadence wanted to continue the conversation. "Roger, you're making too much of this. Don't you understand? This would be the biggest role I've ever played, and the opportunity to work with Nigel. I didn't think you'd mind." She tried to lean over to see the TV past me, but I reached out, took the remote control, and turned it off. "I'm sorry, Kay, but I'm not happy with the way you're dismissing my concerns. I've never been comfortable with your involvement, and I expected you to take my concerns into account, not just brush them off as if they didn't exist." She bit her lip, holding back a response. I took a moment to add more. "This man has a terrible reputation as a ladies' man. I'm sorry, but I would never agree to that." She looked stunned. "Are you telling me that you would deny me the biggest role of my life, depriving me of the opportunity to act alongside one of the most respected actors in the country?" I snorted derisively. "Dear actor, my ass. He's a second-rate nobody. But yes, honey, you're right. I'd rather you had nothing to do with this." She stood up and walked towards the stairs. "You don't have the right to boss me around, Roger. I can make my own decisions." "Oh, God, we're married. There are expectations. If you ignored my concerns, there would be consequences." "I see," she growled, standing at the foot of the stairs. "What are you going to do about it? Send me to my room? Forbid me to leave?" I was stunned. What could I do? She was right. I physically couldn't stop her. Everything became quieter. Luckily, there was no more talk about the stupid play next week. I felt like Cadence and I weren't on the best terms. We didn't fight, but the lack of intimacy was obvious. Later the next week, when I came home late, Diana was home alone. "Where is Mother, dear?" She sighed. "At the theater. Some kind of meeting or something." She sighed sadly. "What's for dinner, Dad?" "I don't know. Just give me a minute to change, and I'll prepare something." I changed without showering and returned to the kitchen. I started making scrambled eggs and toast. Diana came over to help, and we laughed about our day. We were already sitting at the table when Cadence walked in with a very smug look on her face. "Hi, family," she greeted. "What's for dinner?" "Eggs and toast," I muttered. "Yours are in a warm closet." She came to the table. "How was your day, Diana?" she asked. Diana told a long story about what I had already heard. When she finished, I asked, "What was the meeting about?" She shuddered slightly. "It was a special meeting to discuss Nigel's play." She took a large forkful of food. "Wait, did we discuss this last week?" "Yes, but Nigel spoke to the members about it, and he offered to finance it himself. He would cover all the costs, pay for everything." "So what? We voted not to do it." "Yes, but he spoke to the members, and they changed their minds." "What do you mean changed your mind?" "There was a change. Some members decided that they had voted too hastily, and they changed their minds." "I don't understand. What do you mean changed your mind? We should have held a special meeting to discuss this." "Honey, that's exactly what today's meeting was about. We voted to continue." You can't hold a meeting without an announcement. She sighed. The announcement was in last week's Examiner. It was announced. Everyone was there. No, not everything. I didn't even know. Why didn't you tell me last week? She shrugged indifferently. Sorry, I must have forgotten. We haven't been talking much lately anyway. I muttered with dissatisfaction. You didn't tell me because you knew what I would say and how I would vote. Looking guilty, she reluctantly admitted, Yeah, okay, I didn't want you to make a fool of yourself again. What was the result of the vote? She shuddered. It was close. I'm not sure of the exact numbers. Jesus, Cadence, that was mean. I will file a formal complaint. I want to be able to speak out. Don't make a scene, honey. We followed the rules. There was nothing sneaky about it. So, are you going to continue? She nodded. Yes, honey. We start rehearsals next week. And what role do you play? She blushed a little and turned away, unable to meet my gaze. I'm going to play the female lead. No, you won't, I barked. Roger, please. I really want to do this, and I'd like to do it with your support. Like hell. I refuse. I forbid you to have anything to do with this. She softened her tone, trying to reconcile. Roger, you're being silly, darling. It's just a little kissing. Please, darling, don't make a big deal out of it. Come to the theater when we start rehearsals. If you talk to Nigel, you'll see he's a very nice guy. You will love him. Cadence, I'm not kidding. This is serious. I insist. You will not play this role. She sighed. I don't want to fight. This play is everything I ever dreamed of. Please, it's not as bad as you imagine. She walked up the stairs, leaving me sitting in thought. When I went to bed, she was studying her lines. She didn't even notice my presence. I climbed in next to her, roughly throwing back the blankets and making a noise. She gave me a scathing look as I got comfortable, but unlike usual, I rolled over onto my side of the bed, away from her pretend sleep. After reading for a while, she snuggled up behind me. Roger, everything will be fine. I know I should have told you, but I was nervous about what you would say. I ignored her, focusing on my breathing and ignoring her. Please, my love, don't be like that. Honestly, it's all innocent. There's nothing to it. My coldness overtook her, and she sighed, rolling away. Okay, then be it. You are behaving very badly. In the morning at breakfast, I tried again, but this time I tried to be more decisive. Kay, I forbid you to play this role. There will be plenty of other opportunities to work with the old codger. Even in this play, just take one of the other roles. If working with him is the driving force, it will still be possible. I saw her face harden, and she became aggressive. You forbid me, she laughed. Who the hell do you think you're talking to? You forbid me. I'm not a child, Roger. I'm a grown woman, and I make my own decisions. Cadence. We have always taken each other's opinions and concerns into account. We agreed when you just started working in the theater. We both agreed that you will not play roles that involve kissing or physical contact. She sighed. I know, but this is different. It is important. I don't want to fight. I would like you to support me, and I don't want to go against your wishes. Growling, I snapped. If you are honest about my concerns, then just take on a different role. You can still participate. Please, dear, come to the theater. Watch the rehearsals and then make a decision. Like hell, I don't bow down to this Cadence. I stand firm on this. You shouldn't take on this role. She frowned. If you're trying to start a fight, you're going the right way. You make me act even more decisively. I'm not a child. You can't boss me around. Cadence, if you argue with me about this, there will be consequences. I won't be made a fool in front of the whole village. She took the plates from the table. Really, and what will these consequences be for my love? No talking, no sex. Well, let me tell you, if the last few nights are anything to go by, It's going to be pretty nasty out here." Her voice was quiet, but there was no hint of compromise in it. "I don't know what that means, Cadence. Ultimately, I guess it could mean disappointment in our marriage." She quickly stood up, dropping the plates. "What? Are you saying what I think you're saying?" I nodded. "Yes, I think I've made myself quite clear. Cadence, you're right. This is non-negotiable. If you go against my wishes, then you will leave me no choice." "Oh, for God's sake, Roger, you're acting like a spoiled child. It's just a game. This does not mean that I am having an affair with this man." "I don't care, Kay. I don't feel comfortable with you walking around in front of all our friends in an almost empty place, kissing and talking to another man. Damn it. Once the rumor gets out, the whole village will be there to see it." I read the script. "Kay, you'll have to be almost naked on stage. This is fucking disgusting." "I'll carry on. I don't get along with anyone. It's just a scene in a play. And the language, well, that's how young people speak now. You know this as well as I do." "Oh my gosh, what do the other members think? Who agreed to be part of this fiasco?" She looked embarrassed, looking at the floor. "Well, most of the group are happy with it. We are a democratic group. You know that we always go through the drama of selection and never satisfy everyone. I refuse to believe that it is possible to get the majority to actually take on this burden. Damn, Cadence, this is trash. Stop being so rude. Damn it, it's just kissing. There's nothing here that you wouldn't see in everyday life. After all, this is just a modern play. Let's take an age-old theme." No, not everyone agreed, but there is never complete agreement. There is nothing unusual about that. Even so, if you refuse to listen to my wishes, then I will be very unhappy, and I promise you this. I will not hang around here listening to village gossip about my wife, or me for that matter. I refuse to be publicly ridiculed. Public ridicule. What the hell are you talking about? What are you going to do? Should I leave? I took my things and left, leaving her standing and looking after me. I really didn't know what I was threatening. All I knew was that I was angry and I needed to leave before I said something I couldn't take back and would regret forever. I'm sure she thought I was joking and blowing off steam, and I guess in fact even I didn't know if I was serious. It all exploded so quickly that my brain stopped functioning. I decided to talk to some of the other participants. I caught Felicity first. Felicity was one of our best friends and was also very involved in the community. I met her at her little flower shop, and when she noticed me, we hugged as usual. I waited until the customers left and hissed. "Sorry to be blunt and direct, Felicity, but what do you think of this damn play?" She grinned. "Damn, this is terrible. I refuse to be a part of this. I can't believe Cadence is actually willing to be a part of this. I think we were all seduced by Nigel in the beginning, but really once he brought that pile of garbage to the table, it drove a wedge into the committee. The only people who were really interested were the men, the damn perverts. None of us want anything to do with this." I nodded. "What is Nigel like?" "Oh, in real life, he's even more pompous and pretentious. I think he's an idiot. True, when I first met him, I thought he was charming, but his subtle appearance quickly shows." I chuckled. "Well, at least you're honest." I left with my fears justified. At least I wasn't the only one who thought so. During the day, I was able to contact several other committee members, especially other women and a couple of men. They were all of the same opinion as Felicity and I, perhaps not as harsh in their disapproval, but still opposed. In fact, I couldn't find a single person who had anything good to say about it, other than the couple who were sitting on the fence. Apparently, there was a small core of members who were enthusiastic, but those I spoke to were definitely against it. My time with Felicity and the other committee members had put me way behind schedule, and the day had stretched into a very long day, and by the time I stopped the van at home, it was almost dinner time. When I walked in, Cadence was frantically preparing the table. She was dressed very elegantly, rather than the usual sweatpants and t-shirt. She chided Diana, trying to get her to help, while she got the best utensils. "Will we have guests?" I asked. She looked with a smile. "Yes, dear, so hurry up and change, as they will be here soon." It was nice to see her smiling. I half expected our argument to still be in full fight mode. I left them alone, wondering who we had there. We usually didn't have any quests during the week. After finishing showering and changing clothes, I went downstairs. "So who will come?" Before I received an answer, there was a knock on the door. Kay quickly stopped fiddling with the table settings and headed towards the door. When she opened the door, I was horrified to see Nigel and a stunningly beautiful woman half his age standing there, dressed as if they were going to the BAFTA Awards. The woman was so much younger that I wondered if she was his daughter. The three exchanged kisses on the cheek, and Kay invited them inside. She introduced them to Diana first, and both said what a beautiful young woman she was. He was a tall man, slender, with narrow hips. His face began to show signs of excessive condescension. He had a voice straight out of Eden, as if he were playing the role of a professor at the very top of society. Francine recognized me, leaning over and kissing me on the cheek. We didn't do that in this part of the world, and I pulled back a little, leaving her looking at me strangely. I gave Cadence a very cold, icy stare as she pulled me aside and led them into the living room. As we approached the table, Nigel picked up a very large bottle of champagne and handed it to Cadence. As we sat down at the table, Nigel started talking. "So, Roger, Cadence told me that you are also involved with the Dramatic Society. You're doing stage management and something else." His casual disregard for my role irritated me. "That's right, Nige. I do a little when I can." He pulled back, giving me a cold look. "Actually, Roger, my name is Nigel." I hit a nerve. I giggled. "Yeah, that's right. Nige, my old mate, don't worry." Cadence gave me a dagger look. It was Francine who patted my hand. "He's serious, Roger. He hates it when people shorten his name." Cadence poured us all glasses, trying to restart the conversation. "So have you ever acted in the theater?" "No, I'm afraid not for me, Nige. I find it all a bit pretentious." He was taken aback by my snarky comment, but it was Cadence who snapped. "Roger, don't be so damn rude. You know you love to help, and you always enjoy the performances." Diana, however, he laughed at my comment. Nigel tried again. "So will you be helping out on the night of our big premiere?" I shook my head. "No, don't be afraid. It's really not my cup of tea. I prefer not to be associated with anything as cheap and tasteless as this disgusting nonsense." Cadence interrupted him. "Roger, stop it. You're rough and you're always making the lights and sound." "Not this time, my love." Cadence tried to get things back on track. "Roger, stop being stupid. Don't worry, Nigel. He's just joking, trying to be funny, isn't he, dear?" I decided to leave it at that, and the table became quiet as Nigel returned to his suave and charming self. He seemed determined to win my affection, but I had no intention of changing my mind about him. He was a slimy, pompous snob. He went on and on about the roles he had played, throwing out names as if they were pennies from heaven. Cadence hung on every word that came out of his mouth. His wife, Francine, on the other hand, looked completely bored and seemed to have more in common with Diana than the rest of us. They were having their little conversation at the end of the table, boy bands or something. The night gradually became more and more uncomfortable when he turned the conversation back to the play. "Roger, why don't you come to the theater when we start real rehearsals? See for yourself. You might like it." I shook my head. "Sorry, Neji, old man, but I won't interfere." Cadence turned to me. "Darling, tomorrow evening we will need you to control the light. You know you're the only one who knows how they work." I shrugged. The conversation died down. I pulled out my phone and responded to a few emails and messages, but I actually used it to be rude, and it worked. Every time he asked me a question or left me comments, I remained glued to the phone, completely ignoring him. It became so obvious and unpleasant that Nigel and Francine left. They barely made it out into the driveway when Cadence exploded. For God's sake, Roger, you were absolutely rude to them. Lord, you were like a child. I have never been so embarrassed by anything in my life. I angrily retorted, Cadence, I can't understand why you invited them here. You know how I feel about him, and you also knew that I didn't want us to be involved in this play. Diana, who had come to see what all the shouting was about, looked scared and visibly upset. We had never quarreled so much in our entire life together, and it was the first time Diana had heard us yell at each other. When she saw how tense the relationship was between her mother and me, she whispered with tears in her eyes, I'm going to bed. Cadence sensed her anxiety and rushed over to kiss her goodnight. As she disappeared into her room, Cadence gave me a mean and angry look. Roger, see what you did? Now Diana is upset too. The reason I invited them is because I thought that if you had a chance to talk to Nigel, you would see that you overreacted. But no, you couldn't even be polite. I'm disgusted now. How could you be so openly rude in front of invited guests? You know perfectly well why I'm upset, but you put all these concerns aside. Roger, this is crazy. You're acting like an idiot. Sorry, I'm not changing my mind, and if anything, after meeting that asshole, I'm more convinced than ever that I don't want you involved in this. Well, I'm just as adamant. I'm doing it. She drew her line in the sand. Cadence, you know I love you. She grabbed my hand, interrupted me, and kissed me. Honey, I love you too, but I want to do this. I need you to understand that it will mean a lot to me. Darling, it would be amazing to be able to say that I played alongside one of England's greatest men. Famous actors. Famous, I hissed. For God's sake, he's a nobody. He's just another desperate wannabe. Do you think if his services were still in demand, he would be doing it? No, it's because that's all he has left. She looked offended. So this is what you really think about our little troupe. Do you think so little of us that we don't even deserve the services of someone famous? I'm sorry you think that way, Roger, because that's what I do. Okay, if you feel that way, but I warn you, I won't tolerate it. I'd rather leave than put up with the whole village laughing at me. It seems a shame to ruin a 25-year marriage over something stupid, but if that's how you feel, then I guess that's it. She leaned back on the counter. That's not what you mean, is it, Roger? My love, this is just a stupid, jealous overreaction. I don't understand why we fight over something as trivial as this. We are fighting because you ignore my concerns. If you don't respect my wishes, then I'm afraid our marriage may very well be over. Hell, even Felicity thinks it's trash. I left, slamming the door behind me. I went down to the local bar and ordered a pint. Alfred, the bartender, looked at me slyly. Are you having problems at home, boy? We usually don't see you here during the week. It's nothing, Alf. Just me and Cadence had a fight, and I needed some air. He laughed. You two are fighting core. This is an unexpected twist. People here think you're the perfect couple. I laughed with him. Yeah, well, you wouldn't say that now. I had a couple of pints, and we chatted for a bit before I wandered home and found this place in the dark other than our bedroom. Cadence and I had never really fought before, and we'd never been mad at each other long enough to get mad and go to bed. However, that is exactly what happened tonight. When I came in, she was reading her lines again. Repeating that night, I rolled away from her and pretended to be asleep again. However, this time there were no hugs and good nights. I got up early for work, and as I was packing up the van, an evil thought occurred to me. I stopped at the theater, went to the lighting control panel, and sabotaged them. There will be no light that night. Yes, it was petty and vindictive, but I couldn't help but laugh as I walked out and climbed back into the van. I had to work late, finishing a couple of jobs on farms in the surrounding area. As I was driving back to the village, my phone rang. Noticing that it was Cadence, I left it unanswered, sending call after call to the answering machine. I immediately went home and, driving past the theater, noticed that it was shrouded in darkness. I laughed a little before driving home. Diana was waiting. Usually, when there was a rehearsal, I cooked dinner, but that night I was late, and she cooked it herself. "So what's going on, Dad? Why are you and your mom fighting? It scares me." There was no point in sugarcoating it or lying. We've always been honest with our kids, and there was no reason to change that now. So I explained everything that was behind our fight and added that maybe Cadence and I would break up. She choked on her chicken nuggets. "What? You're kidding. Dad, it's just a play, a stupid play." "Right, dear, it's a stupid play. And if your mom saw it, she'd be fine, but she thinks she's in the West End or something." She cringed. "Dad, that Nigel is a fool. You don't have to worry about that." Amazed by her insight, I smiled. "Honey, it's just a principle." She finished eating, and I saw how upset she was. We hugged tightly, and she held on as if she was afraid to let me go. When she got up to go to bed, tears came to her eyes. I wondered where Cadence was, but eventually I went to bed and turned off all the lights. Cadence arrived around 10 and was obviously drunk. Rushing into the bedroom, she flicked the switch, flooding the room with bright light. "Why didn't you answer your damn phone?" she muttered. I growled and pulled the blanket over my head. "Because I sure as hell didn't want it. The damn lights won't work. You know you're the only one who can make burning things work." Tough. So if the light didn't work, where were you? "We all went to the pub for a drink, and it was bloody fun." She jumped on the bed and tried to hug me. "Darling, you should have been there. It was a great night. Everyone had a blast. Nigel was a real laugh. You should have heard the stories he told. Everyone was in fits. If you answered the phone, you could come with us. It was bloody fun." I didn't answer, and she hissed. "Damn it, why are you so stubborn about this?" When I didn't even look up, she sighed sadly. "Could you fix the light in the morning? Otherwise, we will all have to go to Nigel. He offered us his office so we could rehearse as an understudy." "Great." I rolled away from her, covering my head with the blanket until she turned off the light. She tried to press herself against me from behind, but I pushed her hands away from me. "Oh my gosh, honey, how long is this nonsense going to go on?" she whined. "As long as you don't give up on this damn play." She didn't answer, but pressed herself against me from behind. I left for work early in the morning, before she even got up. I decided to fix the damn light because I didn't want her going to his house. Around 9, she called me and was screaming at me wildly on the phone, the angriest I've ever heard. "What the hell did you say to Dee?" This morning she is in complete despair. She cried so much that she had to stay home and not go to school. You really scared her with all this talk about separation. Well, she asked what was going on between us, and I wanted to be honest with her. "I don't believe you told her that. I just can't believe you could be so cruel. The poor girl is devastated." "Well, if you're that worried about her state of mind, quit the play." "I won't. I can't understand why you're so stubborn." I hung up, angry and frustrated. I decided to contact a lawyer for advice. As I considered my options, there weren't that many damn options. I managed to get one from a nearby village, so it was another long day. As I drove past the theater, I noticed all the cars and Cadence's bike. She didn't use the newfangled bicycle. It looked like an old medieval ruin, but she liked it. For her birthday last year, I completely refurbished it, and it was like new. When I got home, Diana was curled up under a blanket on the couch, watching a movie and crying. I cooked dinner for us, and while I was cooking, Dee came in. "Are you cooking enough for Mom?" I shook my head. "No, she's at rehearsal, so she'll probably be late." "But you always cook enough for her and leave it in the microwave." "Not today, dear." She ran out, her eyes wide. I had to take her dinner to her room. I went to bed early, so when Cadence returned, the house was dark again. I heard her open the microwave. The TV was on, and I was almost asleep when she came in. Nothing was said until she climbed into bed and snuggled up behind me, resting her head on my shoulder. Would you like to hear about the rehearsal? No thanks. Thank you for fixing the light. Roger, can we talk, please? Everything got out of control. You're right, and frankly, I'd like to see this over and done with. Darling, if you would just go downstairs like you always do, it would be much easier, and you would see that this is nothing. You're all wound up over trifles. No thanks. I don't want to watch some dirty old lecher kiss my wife, and what's more, the thought of every man in the village watching it at the same time terrifies me. Roger, I've kissed other men in front of you before, and I've never had this reaction. Don't be naive, Cadence. A kiss under the mistletoe is very different from this. It's just a kiss. Just a kiss, yes. So will his tongue be in your mouth. She turned away, guilty, unable to meet my gaze. Well, would it be like that? Honey, it's a love scene, so of course it has to look real, but it's just an act. There's nothing to it. Damn it, I'm not watching another man kiss my wife. How did Dee feel when you returned home? She asked, trying to dispel the rising wave of anger. She wasn't happy. Apparently, she was crying. Roger, can't you just talk to her and explain that you didn't mean it, that you're just angry and attacking? No, I can't, because it's not true. The truth is, I'm being made to look like a fool. If you think I'm hanging around here to be a laughing stock while my wife has sex with another man, you're mistaken. You were adamant about doing this. Well, I'm telling you that if you do that, I'll leave, and yeah, I'm not sure if I'll come back. The color quickly drained from her face, and she stumbled back towards the door frame. You're kidding. Please tell me you're just being cruel. No, Kay, I'm completely serious. I told you what would happen. How did your kiss even go? He's a good kisser. Did the rest of the actors like him? Roger, you're acting like a teenager. We're miles away from that scene. But it will happen. Honestly, Roger, you're overreacting. Really overreacting. Yes, so what happens when Diana comes down and watches the play? How do you think she will feel watching her mother kiss another guy? We're not kissing, it's just a game, she growled angrily. Oh, for God's sake, you're funny, she hissed. The next few days were much the same. The house resembled a war zone. Their rehearsals usually lasted 2 evenings a week, but Nigel pushed them to be more professional. He invited his friend to direct and tried to treat him like a professional theater troupe, which some did not like. Cadence, on the other hand, seemed enthusiastic. It wasn't getting any easier, and I wondered how things escalated so quickly. How? Why? It was so explosive that we couldn't even talk about it to each other, and I wondered, even if she said she was leaving, would we be able to go back to our normal lives, or would it haunt us forever? In fact, I was hoping that I still had a chance to make her change her mind. I hoped that once she realized I was serious, she would change her mind. That evening when I got home, Dee and Cadence were sitting in the kitchen talking, and they both seemed happy, so I was hoping it was good news. Dee ran up and hugged and kissed me. Cadence came over, and we hugged just like she said. Dinner is almost ready, my love. Dinner was pleasant and Dee chatted. Cadence asked about work, and I asked how she was doing at the vet. She worked there a couple days a week. Everything was like the good old days. It was so pleasant. After Dee went to bed and we moved into the living room, Cadence threw it at me. Roger, you would come to rehearsal, even if it's just one time, because I'm convinced, once you see it, that it's just like any other play and there's nothing to be upset about. Please, at least once. Why? I already told you I don't want to watch it. Love, there are hundreds of successful marriages in the film industry, and husbands and wives see their partners kissing other actors all the time. I just think if you see it, you'll know it's nothing to be upset about. I tried to come up with a convincing argument, but I ran out of gas. Okay, when will that scary moment happen? Tomorrow night for the first time. I guess so, but don't complain if I go on stage and hit him. She laughed nervously. Roger, don't you think this is too much? No, I don't think so. Tomorrow night you'll be sharing another man's kiss, his tongue in your mouth like the lovers you're supposed to be, his hands caressing you and his body pressed against yours, and I'm not sure that I can watch it. But this is not real. This is just acting. Bullshit. It was another sleepless night. When I left for work in the morning, she asked, "Will you come to rehearsal today?" "Yes, I'll pick up Diana and we'll go together." "Diana," she stuttered. "Why are you taking her? She doesn't like the theater." "She might like it this time, considering she gets to see her mother kiss another guy." She turned away, muttering something under her breath. That night, I left Dee at home after dinner and went to the theater. There was the usual crowd there. Everyone gathered and discussed various scenes. I crept unnoticed, trying to stay in the shadows. I was amazed that I didn't recognize many of the actors. All the actresses were strangers to me. Clive and Henry, two of the mercurial members of the troupe, stood 5 feet away from me as we watched. Finally, around 9:30, they reached their first kissing scene and Nigel helplessly pulled Cadence close to him in a passionate kiss, wrapping one arm around her waist and the other behind her head, holding the kiss. He was insistent and dominant, holding the kiss much longer than necessary. I watched as their tongues intertwined. Cadence's arms wrapped around his neck and the kiss became fiery, his groin pressed firmly against hers. I heard Henry say, "Damn it, look at this. Lucky guy." When they separated, I saw Cadence look around among the hidden group of spectators. She was pale, looked guilty and embarrassed. I watched as she looked around the room to see if I was there, but I remained invisible to her. "Great," the director snapped. "Now let's try again, but this time with words," he barked. Nigel laughed apologetically. "Yeah, sorry, Harry. Apparently we got carried away." Cadence straightened her skirt and added, "Sorry." "I'm not," Henry whispered in front of me. "It's better than damn television." Nigel and Cadence worked through the lyrics before he pulled her into his arms again for another kiss. This time it was even more passionate and furious, and Cadence returned his passion, her arms wrapped tightly around his neck, their tongues battling. Henry laughed. "My God." Clive nodded, sighing. "Oh my God, that's right, damn, what a lucky guy. Look at his hands, they're everywhere, on her damn tits." I left silently. As I stepped out into the cool night air, I felt overwhelmed. I staggered like a drunken firefly. I leaned over, trying to breathe in air. Damn it. This kiss. The way she responded. It wasn't a game. She was into it. I angrily kicked a rock at parked cars, and the alarm went off. I drove to the pub, my shaking hands weakly gripping the steering wheel. I was at the bar when Clive and Henry came in. As soon as they saw me, they stopped in their tracks. Their laughter died away. It took a few minutes before they said hello. "Hey, Roger, haven't seen you at rehearsals for a while." "No, that doesn't interest me," I muttered, embarrassed, a deep sense of humiliation washing over me. "I guess it's for the best," I heard Henry whisper to himself. Cadence was already home when I arrived, sitting in the living room watching TV. She looked at me coldly when she saw me. "I thought you were going to come to rehearsal." It was an accusation, not a question. I changed my mind. I went to the pub. Disappointed, she sighed. "Oh, are you hungry? I could cook something." I ate fish and chips at the pub. She tried to raise her voice, to revive it. "Can we talk, honey? We need to clear things up." "Yes." "How was your kiss?" "Roger, it was just acting. There was no fun in it." "Really? That's not what Clive and Henry said." She instantly blushed and quickly turned away, hiding her embarrassment. As I sat down next to her, she muttered, "Roger, this is funny." "Cadence, according to Clive and Henry, you just lied to me. You really seem to enjoy the kissing scene. Those two old fools just decided to tease you. It was just a kiss. I pulled her closer and kissed her as passionately as I could, our tongues gracefully sliding and playing with each other. She immediately surrendered to the kiss and her arms wrapped around my neck, holding on for dear life. When we parted, I looked into her brown eyes. Was there something like this? Her gaze immediately fell and tears formed in the corners of her eyes. Well, how was it? I growled. She shook her head. No, that wasn't it. Really? So when do you think about repeating this scene? I'll come see for myself. Well, I guess we'll rehearse it again at the next rehearsal on Thursday. And if I come, will I see a kiss like the one we just exchanged? Honey, we're playing lovers. It's a passionate scene, so the kiss should reflect that. Cadence, please, I beg you, stop this nonsense. There are plenty of other plays, and if, as Nigel said, he is interested in future projects, then you will have another chance in a more suitable role. Roger, this isn't just about the play. It's about more than that. It annoys me that you think you own me. It's like you don't trust me. For God's sake, you even use the words forbid me. I'm not your thing. I have my own opinion. I don't want to take away your right to choose. I just don't understand why you can't see what everyone else sees. It's just a bunch of cheap garbage. None of the other women in the group want any part of it. Couldn't you just give her a chance and then see if you can get over your jealous feelings? Do you think it's because I'm jealous? Of course, love. You see Ninja as a threat because he is rich and famous. Of course you are jealous. That's normal, I understand. That's why I think if you give yourself time, you can get over it. I stood up abruptly. If that's what you think of me, then I think I should move to Michael's room until I find another place. Her face turned pale as I left. What are you talking about? Find another place. I already told you, I'm not going to be the laughing stock of the village. If you heard all the gossip in the pub, you'd understand. They're already pointing the finger at the poor, unsuspecting husband. I'm sorry, Cadence, but if you insist on continuing this, then I have no choice. When I got up in the morning, I left for work without waiting for her. During the day, I met Felicity for lunch. Felicity, could you talk to Cadence? Try to talk some sense into her. She frowned. I already tried, I'm afraid, Roger, but we're not talking now. She's just as mad at me as she is at you. As we talked, it became clear that the theater society had become a topic of discussion in the village. There was a lot of gossip. I asked who the actresses were, and she admitted that none of the female members wanted to participate and all turned down roles. She leaned closer. Roger, I'm holding a meeting of the Theatrical Society this evening. You are welcome to come. I would appreciate your support. I want to put an end to this once and for all. I hugged her. Thank you, Felicity. I'm grateful, and you can count on my support. But this time I think I should stay away. If the feelings are as strong as you say, my presence is not needed. When I got home, Cadence looked stressed and dinner was already on the table. It's early for dinner, isn't it? She gave me an irritated look, grumbling. There's a meeting at the theater tonight, and I need to be there. Meeting? Well, maybe I should go too. God, no, she blurted out sarcastically. Your opinion is the last thing I want to hear at this meeting. I shrugged. All the more reason for me to attend. Please, Roger, stay away. I considered my options. After talking with Felicity, it became clear that they did not need my help. Okay. When Cadence returned home, she was in tears. She screamed loudly at me, ignoring Diana, who was watching TV with me. Well, you've achieved your goal. The play is canceled. What's happened? You know exactly what happened. Felicity told me she spoke to you, so don't act like you had anything to do with it. The committee canceled the play. God bless. Yes, I knew you'd be happy. Yes, I'm glad. Now perhaps there will be peace in this house again. Diana sat trembling next to me. As she watched our argument, she jumped up with tears in her eyes. "I am going to sleep." She walked past her mother, but Cadence grabbed her and hugged her. "Everything will be fine, dear. Everything will be fine." Diana smiled thinly. "I don't like it when you fight. It scares me. I don't want Daddy to leave. Good night, Mom." After she left, Cadence sat down next to me and I asked, "What happens now?" She shook her head. "I don't know." Nigel was furious, completely mad, and so was Harry. They both put so much time and effort into this. I feel sorry for them. So the play is cancelled. Yes, the announcements will be posted tomorrow. There was tension between us for the next few days, but it was nice to have Felicity at our house on Wednesday when I got home from work. They talked in the sunny room over a glass of sherry. I left them alone, but it was nice to see them. They have been friends for so long. That night after dinner, the atmosphere warmed up noticeably in Cadence, and I snuggled up while Diana watched something terrible on TV. It was one of those nasty reality shows they were both so into. They chatted and laughed, making snarky remarks about shallow characters and poor acting. As the show continued, who would have thought? But Nigel himself appeared in the frame for a moment. He was just as bad as the other implausible performers. Diana made a couple of snarky remarks that Cadence didn't appreciate at all, and I felt her tense up next to me. After Diana went to bed, Cadence was still pressed against me. "I'm sorry if I overreacted, love, but this play was important to me. I needed something to do, and I really enjoy acting. This role would really push me out of my comfort zone. Honey, I love that you're involved, and I'm sure there will be other roles for you." Yeah, but it was going to be a big deal. Nigel was going to pull some strings and get some real publicity. I know it would only be a local event, but it would be the biggest thing for me. In bed that night, Cadence and I finally came to an understanding, and all thoughts of divorce and separation evaporated. This play almost became the end of the theatrical society. The division within the committee was deep. We always held the show at the end of the summer, but after the scandal and gossip surrounding the show, the committee could not decide on a suitable replacement. They tried to attract Nigel, but he cut off contact and showed no interest, fortunately. On Saturday night, I decided to take Cadence to the pub for dinner, a date. She got dressed up, and we went to the pub. We sat at our table drinking drinks. This was the first time Cadence could hear some of the gossip. Even though we were seated at a table, conversations from the bar were clearly audible, and there were some very explicit jokes and comments being made. She blushed as she became embarrassed. I could have stuck the knife in deeper, but I think she suffered enough as it is. We ate and drank. After the main course, I needed to go to the toilet. On my way back, I was stopped by a local farmer who needed work. It took time. When I returned to the restaurant, Cadence was nowhere to be seen. I assumed she was in the women's room. I sat and waited and waited. There was no sign of her. At the next table sat a couple whom I knew casually. "Have you seen Cadence?" The woman replied worriedly, She went outside with that actor guy." Fearing the worst, I ran outside to find Cadence standing with Nigel and Harry in a tight group. Nigel and Harry were both smoking huge cigars, laughing at something. I burst between them. "We're ready to leave." I grabbed her arm roughly, and she swayed, staggering behind me. "Roger, what's wrong with you?" It was completely inappropriate. We were just talking. I stopped abruptly, turned and grabbed her by the shoulders. "Cadence, the whole damn village is gossiping about you. You heard the chatter at the bar tonight. You're still standing here with that damn idiot on the street in the dark. There'll be more gossip tomorrow. You're acting like a fool. Let's go home." I turned and pulled her along with me. Cadence complained, "You're so insecure that I can't even talk to him. What's going on with you lately? You've become a jealous, insecure, rude person. You've never been like that, and let me tell you, I don't like it at all. I'm trying to protect your reputation, for God's sake. Isn't there enough gossip about you already? or do you like it that way? Damn it, Roger, we were just talking. Harry was there too. Why didn't you stay inside? They wanted to smoke their cigars. Is that a crime? We walked in silence the rest of the way. Things were cool between us over the next few days, but things mostly returned to normal and our peaceful lives returned, so to speak. We both couldn't speak openly, and everything was guarded and forced. The next week, the world exploded. I pulled into our driveway after a very long and tiring day at work and saw Nigel's car parked, taking up the entire driveway. I had to park along the road. When I walked in, Cadence and Nigel were sitting at the table, and there was a partially empty bottle of wine on the table. As soon as she saw me, she jumped up and rushed towards me with a kiss. "Where have you been, dear? We've been waiting for you for so long." I snapped. "Where do you think I was? I've had a long day. What are we having for dinner?" She sank into my arms. "Sorry, I didn't have time to prepare anything. We were talking." Nigel chimed in. "Hi, Roger. How are you?" I ignored him as always and turned to Cadence. "Is it too much to ask for something to eat?" She looked devastated. "Can we talk first? I have some very important news for you." Nigel intervened again. "Old man, I can buy you dinner. We could go to the pub if you don't mind." The last thing I wanted was to spend time with him. "Ninja, old man, what I would like is for you to leave so Cadence, and I can sort out the dinner issue. I'll go get changed now. It would be nice if you left when I get down." Cadence exploded. "Roger, stop being so rude. Nigel wanted to tell you the news." He got up. "I know we didn't always get along, but this is more than our differences. Look, I'll get straight to the point. I talked to the council, and they agreed we could use the theater. It's a public building. The theater group doesn't own it." I snorted derisively. "Well, good luck with that." His face fell and Cadence sucked in a breath. "Roger, please, stop acting like a child. You're being ridiculous." Nigel sighed. "I think I should go. I'm sorry you couldn't see the artistic potential in what could have been a fantastic modern classic." "A modern classic, my ass, and yeah, it would be nice if you went away." He turned and headed towards the door, with Cadence escorting him. When she returned, I saw anger on her face. "Damn it, Roger, that was the rudest thing I've ever seen. You're really out of your mind. All he wanted to do was tell you that we can still run the play." "Fuck you, Cadence. I don't care what he's up to. Why the hell did he think I'd be interested in this?" "Well, Mr. Sarcasm, he still wants me to play the lead." "Well, let him go to hell." "No, I didn't tell him that," she answered angrily. "Roger, can't you just be happy for me?" She walked up the stairs, and I heard the bedroom door slam. I was busy eating dinner when Diana came in, looking happy. She kissed me. "Where is Mom?" I shrugged. "In the bedroom." "Oh my God, are you two fighting again?" I didn't answer, but my nervous movements gave her the answer. "Do you want to eat?" I asked. "No thanks, Dad. I ate at Rachel's." "What happened?" "I don't want to talk about it. I'm sure she'll tell you everything." She slowly walked up the stairs, and I heard her knock on our bedroom door. I ate dinner and watched a little TV before I heard them talking and then closing the doors. Diana apparently went straight to bed. I cleaned up after myself and decided that I would sleep in Michael's old room. In the morning, Cadence was nowhere to be seen, and when Diana came down, she was upset. I made her breakfast, and she barely spoke until I was about to leave. "Dad, please don't fight with Mom. It's just a stupid play. After all, it's not the end of the world. Shouldn't we support her? If it were me, you would." "No way. If it were you, I would put you under house arrest for 10 years and take away your tablet." She smiled unconvincingly. "Dad, it's just a stupid play. It doesn't mean anything." "Don't minimize my feelings, Diana. This is very important to me, young lady." She frowned. Please, Daddy, I'm begging. I turned around and went to work. As I passed by, I kissed her reassuringly. I thought long and hard throughout the day. What the hell am I going to do if she pushes against me? I analyzed my options, and they were really limited. I couldn't ground her. I couldn't spank her, no matter how much it tempted me. If she ignores my requests and moves on, what can I do? The more I thought about this problem, the more confused I became. By the end of the day, I was stressed and anxious and definitely didn't want to go home. When I walked through the door, I felt like I was walking into a freezer. Cadence and Diana were having dinner. Diana greeted me warmly, but Cadence's scowl was a different story, her icy eyes boring straight into my soul. Dinner wasn't very cool. Cadence didn't say a single word to me. Diana tried to lighten the mood, but it was too much for her. In the end, she couldn't stand it anymore and rushed to sleep, crying her eyes out. Cadence growled, "Are you happy now?" I shook my head in despair. "How is it any of my business, Cadence?" Even though we weren't done yet, she quickly got up and started cleaning up. I pushed the plate away and muttered, "I'm going to the pub. At least they're still talking to me." There was no answer, only some angry curses muttered under her breath. When I walked into the pub, the atmosphere was warm and cozy. I chatted with a couple of locals, and it was nice to just chat without any hostility. There are already rumors about Nigel and this stupid play. It was dark at home. I slept in Michael's old room again, and the next few days unfolded much the same way, the tension mounting. Things came to a head the following week. When I got home from work, Cadence was waiting like a praying mantis. "Roger, we need to talk." I nodded. "Sounds like a good idea." We sat down in the front room. "Roger, I want to take on this role. I mean, this is my biggest dream, so I want to do it. But I won't do it until I get your support. So you support me and support it." I let her words settle for a moment or two before answering. "Cadence, I've always supported you, and you know it. This is different. It's cheap, trashy bullshit, and it's entirely based on sex. If the sex scenes were removed from it, there would be nothing left. I don't want you to ruin your life by getting involved in this. I don't want you to be involved in anything." I saw her shoulders drop as she came to her senses. "Roger, this is a modern play. My God, you have seen how the world has changed. This is exactly how things are these days. The language is what you would expect to hear from young people. It's just a reflection of modern society. Hell, there's more sex on the street." I responded sharply. "There are plenty of movies based on this very premise, and they didn't have to rely on nudity or overly explicit sex scenes to do it. It's just seduction under the guise of art. I'm sorry, honey, but I won't let you do that." She straightened up and stuck out her chest. "What if I told you I'm going to do it anyway? You just said you wouldn't. I'm afraid if you act like this, then our marriage is doomed to failure. If you continue with this play, I'll leave. Are you going to ruin our marriage because I want to advance my career?" "Cadence, you don't have a career. Acting is just a hobby. If you want to do it, you'll do it alone." She turned away, and the room fell silent for a long time before she responded. "Okay, Roger, you got your wish. I'll call Nigel and tell him I'm not allowed to do this." I couldn't hide my smile. I took a deep breath. "Thank God. Thanks, Cadence. That's wonderful." "Wonderful for you, perhaps, but I'm so disappointed in you. I recently saw a side of you that I don't like. I didn't know how insecure, suspicious, and distrustful you were. I thought our marriage was stronger than this. I thought that we could trust each other." "Cadence, this isn't about trust. I really trust you." She interrupted me before I could finish my thought. "Bullshit. You don't trust me at all. God, remember that night outside the pub when I was talking to Harry and Nigel? You physically dragged me away from there like you caught me having sex with them. I was so embarrassed. It's not you. It's that idiot Nigel who I don't trust. And that Harry is nothing more than a sticky scoundrel. It doesn't matter to them. If you trusted me, you would know that nothing would have happened, no matter what they wanted. Cadence, you're not the first woman to be seduced by sticky operators. They prey on women who have ambition. They use it against them. It's a weapon. They tie their offers to trash roles. It's how they force women to accept bad decisions. I'm not some stupid teenager. I have my own opinions. She got up and headed to the kitchen to prepare dinner. I changed my clothes and went outside. The English summer evenings were lovely, with long, warm sunsets, so I took the opportunity to mow the lawn and tidy up the hedges. Jeremy, our neighbor, invited me over for a beer, and we sat outside enjoying the setting sun. After Cadence's attack, it was nice to talk about cricket and sports and local news. His wife, Beverly, also came out and joined us. Diana came up. "Dad, dinner is ready." I excused myself and went home a little cloudy. During dinner, Diana and I joked and laughed. The mood improved a little. Although Cadence was still sullen, at least she wasn't biting. I helped Diana with her math homework, and she hugged me as she went to bed. Cadence and I sat in grim silence with some garbage on the TV that neither of us watched. Finally, Cadence announced that she was going to bed. The bedroom door was not closed, but there was nothing to indicate that I was welcome there. I slept in Michael's room. I noticed that my freshly laundered clothes were neatly folded and lying on the edge of Michael's bed. It was starting to look more and more like my room. I expected things to go back to normal over the weekend, but to be honest, it just got worse. Cadence acted like a witch. On Saturday night, she and Diana spent the entire night watching terrible reality TV shows, giggling and laughing the entire time. I went to bed early. The city was filled with gossip about the play. Some saw this as an opportunity to promote the city. Others were horrified that it would only bring the city a bad reputation. I spoke to Felicity, hoping to find out more, but she knew very little other than that she had met with Nigel on behalf of the Drama Society, during which he asked her to personally accept the supporting female role. She refused. She asked about Cadence since she hadn't seen her for a long time. I explained that we were fighting over her participation in the play. Felicity seemed shocked because Nigel was using the fact that Cadence was taking the lead role as an additional hook to lure her into the project. This surprised me. He lied to attract Felicity and then used Felicity to persuade Cadence. Very underhanded, I thought. When I expressed my concern, she said, "Tricky bastard. Thanks for the warning, Roger. I'll remember that for future conversations." By the third week, something had to change. The tension in the house was unbearable, as if a heavy foul fog hung over us all. I didn't know what Cadence was expecting, but my stoic behavior only seemed to irritate her, and it all came out. "Roger, I want to ask you to reconsider your decision." I shook my head. "No, Cadence, I refuse to let us become the laughing stock of the town. If Nigel is serious about this, I'm sure he's already found someone else to play the role." He left the position open, hoping that I would change my mind. He sent me all the rewritten scripts, and I was rehearsing my lines, but he gave me until Friday. I have to give him an answer, yes or no. He has other actresses who are interested. Well, then he better hire one of them, because I won't change my mind. She sighed. "Honey, I'm begging you, please. This is what I really want to do. This is my dream, to play the lead role. The reason he wants you to play the role is because the villagers will want to watch just to see what you look like naked." "For God's sake, Roger, there's no nudity. I'm always clothed," she pleaded. I read the script, and she was right. She wasn't completely naked, but what was described in the script was so skimpy that she could have been considered nude. I went up to the bedroom and pulled out the little nightgown she sometimes wore when we were trying to be creative in the bedroom. I threw it to her. "Would you wear this in public?" She snorted. "Of course not. Stop being funny." "Cadence, this is exactly what you'll be wearing on stage. Your parents, my parents, our kids, and every damn person in this village will be able to see you in something like this. I'm guessing you'll be wearing stockings and high heels, but nothing will be hidden." She burst into tears and ran out into the garden, and I went to the pub, hoping for a friendly conversation. But the place was full of gossip about the damn play. Damn it, I couldn't get rid of it. The house was unbearably dark. The place resembled a crypt. The next day, which was Thursday, Cadence cooked a big dinner and seemed to be in a good mood, which lifted both Diana and I's spirits. It was after Diana had gone to bed when she suddenly said to me, "Roger, I will ask one last time. Will you please support me and let me accept this role?" I shook my head. "No, Cadence, I can't." "Okay, but you forced me. I was waiting for you to come to your senses. I accepted the role." Sad, shocked, and depressed, I contemplated what to do. She drew the line. "So be it, Cadence. I'll pack my things and leave. I'll talk to the lawyer tomorrow." She must have expected me to give up because my words shocked her. She looked completely surprised. "Roger, you're going too far. Please, it's just a role, an acting game. Why can't you be happy for me?" "Because I love you, and I can't stand the thought of that slimy, horny bastard touching you. This play is full of sex scenes, and yes, it may be acting, but he will touch you everywhere. Sorry, Cadence, but I won't make a fool of myself." I rushed to pack my things. Diana heard the noise and came in to see me packing a couple of suitcases. "Dad, what are you doing?" I couldn't lie to her. "I'm afraid I'm leaving, dear. This situation is crazy. I'll let you know when it's all settled." She burst into tears and ran into her room, slamming the door. "I hate you. I hate you." She locked herself in her room. Cadence walked in and sat on the bed. "Please, honey, this is crazy. Our marriage is worth more than that, isn't it?" "Well, I thought so, but apparently not." "Roger, please, let's talk about this rationally." "The time for talking has passed, Cadence. I won't sell the house until Diana leaves for university, but I warn you that I won't be paying the bills. From now on, you're on your own." She looked completely lost, unable to answer. I picked up my suitcases and headed for the door. "Good luck making a fool of yourself. The whole town can't wait to see you naked." I decided to stay with my friend Grant. We discussed it, and he offered his spare room. Not even a day had passed since we became the main topic of all gossip in the village, and this did not do us any good. Cadence was portrayed in a very unflattering light. Even Felicity, her best friend, openly criticized her participation. I went home to get some fresh clothes, only to find Nigel there. He was sitting in the living room drinking wine with Cadence. Diana was in her room, but when she heard me, she came running downstairs. We hugged and she cried, saying how much she missed me. Cadence came over to say hello, but I just muttered that I had come for fresh clothes. Nigel took this moment to intervene. "Roger, the old man, Cadence, told me what happened. Listen, old man, you're going too far. This is a great opportunity for Cadence to express herself as an actress." "Fuck off, Niji. You are not welcome in this house, and if you have any brains, you will leave now and never appear again." He quickly backed away, glancing at Cadence. "Honey, I guess I'll go." She silently walked him to the door. Diana was in despair. "Daddy, please don't go. I can't bear the thought of you not being here." "I'm sorry, love, but I can't live like this." She locked herself in her room, screaming, "I hate you, I hate you." She locked herself in her room. Cadence stood in front of the door as I gathered my personal items and fresh clothes. "Please, Roger, don't do this. You're being crazy." "Sorry, Cadence. I don't want to discuss this with you." "When will we see each other?" "I'll come by as often as I can to see Diana." It was a pleasant stay with Grant. His wife, Joanna, was an excellent cook, and she sympathized with me. They seemed to understand where I was coming from. Joanna's compassion became a recurring theme over the following weeks. Everyone I encountered thought the same thing, especially Felicity, who was devastated by our separation. She tried to talk to Cadence, but according to Felicity, Cadence was being irrational. Felicity was warm and comforting and supportive. She invited me to dinner in the evenings and always created a warm, cozy atmosphere. She tried to talk to Cadence several times over the next few days, but eventually gave up. The gossip reached its peak, fueled by a couple of members of the theater group. They were too happy to talk about what was going on, and it didn't make anyone look good. I met one of them in a pub when he was telling everyone how hot all the actresses were. When he saw that I was listening, he tried to apologize, but it was too late. I reprimanded him and expressed my opinion. If Grant hadn't restrained me, it might have ended in a fight. I met with Diana almost every evening. Cadence always tried to intervene. She made sure to invite me to stay for dinner. Diana also begged, and it was impossible for me to refuse. Diana did her best to play the role of Cupid. I understood this, but it was awkward. The situation was driving me crazy. It seemed that the whole village knew about our breakup, and it was impossible to hide it. I tried to stay away from the village as much as possible, but it was difficult because 70% of my work was around the city. Quite frank rumors circulated in the city and accusations concerned Cadence and Nigel. Allegedly, there was a video that went viral. The fact that Cadence and I broke up only added fuel to the rumors. I was amazed by all the fuss. It was difficult before, but now it was impossible. Cadence called me, sobbing. "Roger, it's not like that. It never happened. You have to believe me. Can you please come and talk?" "I warned you about all this, Cadence. I'm sorry, but I won't be able to come tonight." She sobbed. "I'm sorry, Roger. I don't know what happened. It got out of control." I tried to talk to her, but she was hysterical and incoherent. I called Felicity and asked her to come over and talk to Cadence. Friday night, I had to get home to pick up my things and Cadence was waiting for me. She greeted me with hugs. "Roger, I'm so sorry about all of this. It's all made up. They're deliberately spreading all these rumors about Nija and me. None of it is true. I promise you, my love." I took a deep breath. "Then leave. If it's as bad as you say, just leave." "Honey, it's not Nigel. It's Harry. He thinks that if we make a fuss, it will spur public interest. He suggested we do a story about the scam. He hoped it would attract media attention." "Cadence, this is absurd. You clearly don't like this. Just leave." She winced. "I can't. I signed the contract. Nigel is paying us. That meant signing the contract." "Oh, for God's sake. How much does he pay you?" "Only £200 a week, but there are conditions in the contract. If I break them, I could be sued." She looked completely devastated. I hugged her. "Everything will be fine. First of all, maybe we should come forward. We could go to the newspapers and make a statement. Tell them what kind of scoundrels they are." She winced. "Do you think this is reasonable?" "What alternative?" "You could come to rehearsals. If you were there, they wouldn't be able to say anything." I shook my head. "I already told you. I'm not going to sit and watch that creep hug you." She sighed. "Sorry, you were right all along. Nigel is trying to use this to promote himself and doesn't care who he hurts along the way. He's so cruel to some actors." Holding her at arm's length, I growled. "Did he try to do something to you?" Her eyes dropped, unable to meet my gaze. "Come on, Cadence. Don't lie to me. Did he do something inappropriate?" "No, only in the sex scenes. He is very persistent. He constantly repeats the scenes where we kiss and the bedroom scenes. This is all." Grimacing, she muttered, "He tried to get me to rehearse with him alone. He said the only way to make it realistic was if we were very comfortable with each other." I growled, "Did you do it?" "Only once. It was just a kissing scene." "Cadence, you need to get out of there. It's obvious he's going to try to get you into bed." "I know, but I signed the contract," she cried. "Forget about the contract. I think you'll have to call in sick for the next few days. She leaned her head against my shoulder. Will you come home? I can't handle this alone. I need your support. I'll come home right now if you promise to stay away from those slimy worms. She nodded, but whispered in a hoarse voice, and the contract? I'll consult with a lawyer and find out what our options are, what the worst that can happen is. Then I'll go and personally tell him that you're pulling out of the project. She nodded in agreement. Thank you, darling. The next day it was painful. The previous night, love had left us both satiated. In the morning, the return of the anger I felt because she had allowed that devious bastard to seduce her came with a vengeance. Diana and Cadence bustled about preparing breakfast, and we ate together. But although Diana kept things light and pleasant, there was a cold, unyielding atmosphere hanging over us. I decided to keep my mouth shut, afraid that if I spoke I would lose control. Diana hurried off to school, leaving Cadence and I alone. Are you okay, honey? She asked. You seem withdrawn and upset this morning. Yeah, sorry, but I was just wondering how best to approach this. She frowned. Don't lie to me, Roger. It's because of that stupid video, isn't it? We've been living together too long. I can read you better. I angrily said, if you read me so well, why didn't you see how angry I was at the beginning of this trouble? Why did you do this? Lord, woman, I told you over and over again. Tears flowed down her pale cheeks slowly. I don't know. I saw how angry you were. I just let my ambitions take over. You didn't help by using words like forbid. It only made me angry and made me prove myself to you. Prove what? That you're easy prey for a lustful old man. The words barely left my mouth, and I already regretted not holding my tongue. The small stream turned into a cascade. Trembling sobs shook her body. I hastily hugged her. Sorry, honey. I didn't mean to be so rude. No, you're right. I was an idiot. I should have seen through his flattery. I went to a lawyer with a copy of Cadence's contract. The meeting was scheduled only for the evening. Old Codington sat leafing through the contract, glancing at me from time to time. Look, old man, I'm sorry, but this is pretty standard stuff. There's nothing like that. There's no loopholes or clauses that allow for early termination. If Cadence doesn't want to see the project through to completion, they can actually sue her for wasted time and any expenses associated with finding a replacement. This includes time delays, rental of equipment or premises, and, of course, salaries. He frowned. Have you talked to the head of the company? I mean, if you had talked to them, maybe they would have just let her finish. The expenses he was talking about didn't seem that big. A couple of days of lost pay and hiring someone new. It wouldn't amount to much. Still not sure. I asked, so is there any way she could be held liable for lost profits or ticket sales? He shrugged. Perhaps these contracts are not entirely clear. There are a couple of clauses here that I haven't seen before, so yes, it's possible. If production is delayed, I imagine they could sue for lost profits. They could argue that because ticket sales have been affected by the delays. I was full of uncertainty. I'll have to face the bastard. There were no more options. Being as cunning as he was, he could try anything. I pulled up to the theater, and there were only a couple of cars there, none of which were familiar to me. I parked in front of the building and entered. Nigel, Harry, and another guy were sitting together, grouped near the stage. I gathered my courage and headed straight towards them. Good afternoon, I announced as I approached. They all looked at me. Nigel frowned. Roger, good to see you. How can we help? I'm here to talk about Cadence. Oh yeah, she called this morning. Something about being sick or not feeling well. I nodded. Yeah, she's really feeling bad now. She wants to get out of the play. Damn, Harry grumbled. You mean completely, old man? Nigel shook his head. I nodded again. Yeah, she's not feeling well, and the pressure of being in the play isn't helping. She wants to get out. Look, I'm sorry, old man, but rehearsals are almost finished. The premiere is in a week. We don't have time to find a replacement. How sick is she? Very ill. In fact, I'm afraid she'll be bedridden for a while. Crap, Nigel muttered. Harry stood up. Is this Cadence's idea or yours? I know you didn't want her in the play. Maybe we should talk to her in person. Get her opinion. Sorry, but that's not going to happen, I replied sharply. As I said, she is not doing well, and you are not welcome in my home. If you set foot on my property, I will sue you for trespassing. Come on, there's no need for that. We're friends after all, Nigel hissed snake-like. I didn't come here to negotiate. I just came to tell you some bad news. You need to find a replacement. It was Harry who barked. What the hell? Listen here, you little bastard. This is all your business. She has a contract, and we expect her tomorrow. Sick or not, let her get here early. We're already behind because of today. Sorry, Harry, you pathetic worm. I said she wouldn't be there. If you need a doctor's note, I'll bring it tomorrow. She's sick. Why the hell is she sick? It's because of your bourgeois mentality. You don't like scenes. Yes, we get it, but to hell with it. She has a contract. I will personally sue you for every penny if she doesn't show up tomorrow on time. Got it. I took a step forward. Judging our size and age, I realized that I could defeat him. Nothing would give me greater pleasure than to bleach both his eyes. As I moved towards him, Nigel intervened. Roger, old man, this is all getting out of control. We all understand your concerns, but Cadence is a grown girl. She herself wanted to participate. She asked us to, but we did not approach her. This play depends on her. I don't care. As I said earlier, this is not a negotiation. I'm just here to notify you. Can we talk to her? She's our employee. We need to talk to her, not you. I turned and walked back to the door. No, she's not available. As I sped up in the van, I couldn't help but smile. I knew that this was not the end and everything would only get more confusing, but their faces were a real picture. So what did they say, honey? Cadence asked as I walked through the door. I shrugged indifferently. They were quite rude, actually. This Harry is a terrible guy. Do I have to go back? I told them you were sick and you weren't coming back. Let's see what happens next. Diana came in while we were talking, which distracted us. It wasn't until we sat down to dinner that Cadence's cell phone rang. Hello, Nigel, I heard her say. Yes, that's right. I don't feel well. There was a brief pause while she apparently listened to what he had to say. No, I can't. I'm just not in that state. The conversation continued for some time, and I watched as she began to cry. I'm sorry, Nigel, I just can't. Yes, I know it will be difficult, but Jessica knows the lyrics. Let her take on the role. I could tell just by listening that he was really escalating the situation. I snatched the phone from her trembling hands. Nigel, I already told you. Cadence is sick and won't be coming back. Cadence cried again, trying to understand. They said they would take legal action. It could cost thousands of pounds. Grabbing her by the shoulders and holding her tightly, I muttered, No one can force you to work when you are sick. Tomorrow we will go to the doctor's office and ask him to evaluate your condition. But I'm not sick. You keep telling me that you are an actress. Then tomorrow you will play the role of your life, and you will convince him that you belong in intensive care. She smiled. Do you want me to lie? Call it what you want. It's either this or you come back and I move out. She pushed past my outstretched arms and we hugged. God, I'm sorry, Roger. No need to cry over spilled milk, Cadence. Play well tomorrow and we can move forward. I have to admit, I always thought Cadence was a great actress, and that was confirmed in the doctor's office. Her eyes were puffy and red, her nose was running, and she looked like death on her feet. The doctor was so concerned that he scheduled her for blood tests and sent her home to isolate and stay in bed. He was kind enough to write a letter of explanation. I dropped Cadence off at home before heading to the theater. I felt great pleasure entering the building. There were a lot of people there, most of whom I didn't even know. Actors Harry had hired from the surrounding area. I saw Nigel and Harry standing together at the side of the stage. Sucking in the air, I took a decisive step towards them. "Hello, Roger, old boy. I hope you're here with good news." "Sorry, but no. I come with bad news for you. Cadence is very sick. She won't be able to come here for a long time. The doctor warned her to stay away from people. She doesn't want to infect innocent people." "You bloody bastard. There's nothing wrong with her. She was here just 2 days ago, and she was fine," Harry growled. I handed him a doctor's note. He snorted in disbelief and handed it to Nigel. He looked at me, I'm sure, with what he thought was a deep and piercing gaze. "Roger, this is completely unacceptable. We're only a week away from the premiere. She absolutely has to come." "Listen, Nayi, old boy. Let me try to explain it simply. She's sick and won't be here. Read the note. The doctor advised at least a week of bed rest, maybe more. You need to slow down." Harry stepped forward, his finger pushing into my chest. "You're a jealous little thing. Let you know, she loved it. The only reason she's not here is because you're so insecure that you couldn't watch her enjoy her fame." I grabbed his hand and pulled him towards me. "Now listen here, you little ferret. I gave you an official medical certificate. She's sick. She won't be here. I suggest you quickly find a replacement." Using both hands, he pushed into my chest. "Fuck off, little man. If she's not here in the morning, you'll get a letter from my lawyer. We'll sue you for everything you've got. We'll ruin you." I laughed in his face. "Read the contract, fool. Read the sickness clause. You have a doctor's note. Now fuck off." I turned and left. I heard him shout after me, "It's not over yet. If she's not here tomorrow, we'll post the rest of the videos. Did you hear me?" I've never been so angry in my life. I drove home when a red veil covered everything around me. I had to restrain myself from turning around, going back and punching those sneaky bastards. The problem is that if I did, they would arrest me. As I burst home, Cadence jumped in her seat as the door swung open and hit the wall. She looked at me. "Are you okay, love?" Looking around, I asked, "Is Diana at home?" "No, she's at Polly's." "Okay, no nonsense, Cadence. What other videos do they have of you?" Stunned, she began to cry. "None, I promise you." "Well, your wonderful friend Harry threatened that if you weren't on set tomorrow, he would release other videos." I ask again, "Which videos?" "Oh, God," she screamed. She gasped, clenching her hands on her chest. "There are no other videos. This is the only one." Think about it. Cadence, I'm asking, how many times have you been with him? If they took one off without you knowing, they could have done it on other occasions. I need to know right now. How many times have you been with him? "Roger, I promise. This was the only time. Other than rehearsals, this was the only time." "Then what are they talking about?" "I don't know. Maybe it's from rehearsal. I don't know." "Tell me what happened at the rehearsal." "It's just that we were rehearsing." "Were you dressed?" She winced painfully. The words came out slowly and uncertainly. "There were a couple of times when we rehearsed in costumes. You know, what we had to perform in." "How open were they?" "Oh, damn, those were just." She began to cry again, her body shaking with violent sobs. "I was in my negligee, my underwear, my stockings. Oh, God, Roger, I'm so sorry." "There must be something else." "What else?" "Nothing. We were rehearsing scenes, that's all." "When you say rehearsed, what about the bedroom scenes? Were you in bed together?" More sobs. "Yes, we were in bed. but under the covers. Fake sex? Yes, but it was just an acting performance. There was nothing more. Yeah, but what if he says it happened? How realistic is it? Does it look like you're having sex? What? God, I don't know what it would have looked like. As far as I know, there were no cameras. Yeah, but they caught you once. Just tell me what happened. Well, we were under the blankets, pretending to have sex. We were playing roles, Roger. There was nothing else. How bad will it look on video? Oh God, I don't know. She sobbed, completely devastated. She looked destroyed. What do we do now? I need to get back. Just finish this, damn it. Absolutely not. No, if he releases something, then we'll just have to deal with it. Stay strong. Our friends will support us. Others might laugh at us, but we can get through it. She threw me into my arms. Thank you, my love. I should have listened. I don't know what happened to me. It doesn't matter. I'm just glad you're in my arms. I should have been stronger. Her wet cheeks rubbed against mine as her lips pressed against mine in a sweet little kiss. You tried. I was just thinking stupid things. I thought you were jealous and possessive of me. I was jealous. How you seduced him. You behaved worse than a teenager. He could do nothing wrong in your eyes. Then you ignored everything I said, pushed my concerns aside. Seeing you kiss him like lovers, it tore my heart. I'm sorry about the video. I didn't know. It's not because of the damn video. I came to the theater the first night you were doing that damn kissing scene. I had to stop myself from going down there and punching him in the dirty face. Her face turned red, and she looked away. Was it that bad? Cadence, you are the love of my life. I love you like I've never loved anyone. Seeing you kiss like that was fucking hard. How would you feel if you saw me kiss someone like that? But it was just acting. It was in the script. It didn't mean anything. I'm sorry, Cadence, but it's not like that. I know you so well. That kiss meant something. Trust me. You felt it. Again, she could not meet my gaze. Her eyes were fixed on some point on the floor. I'm sorry, Roger. I let my emotions get the better of me. I didn't even see this as more than just another scene. What do we do now? She whispered hoarsely. Nothing. I guess we just have to wait. All we can do is react. We could let people know I won't be participating. Try to keep the attendance down. No, I don't want to provoke them. I think we should avoid any retaliation until they do something. We were in the process of preparing dinner when Dee returned home. She was in a good mood and asked what was going on. She seemed pleased when Cadence said she was no longer in the play. It took a couple more days before the videos started appearing. They were what Cadence had assumed were from the rehearsal scenes. I have to give Harry credit for finding the best possible angles to make it look even worse. The kisses were passionate. The comments have begun. Cadence received a phone call from Nigel on Wednesday evening. She put it on speaker so I could hear. Hello, Cadence, darling. Are you feeling better? No, she answered sharply. Why did you film our rehearsals? And why are you distributing them? Darling, we're just trying to attract some extra interest. Harry thought it might encourage people to come and watch. Well, can you stop this, please? I won't participate, so this is just stupid. You're trying to ruin my reputation. Cadence, honey, come back. Finish the project. All this drama is unnecessary. We had so much fun. Please, honey, we can't do this without you. I see that she hesitates, unsure. Please, Cadence, don't make me beg, honey. We need you so much. Everyone misses you so much. Lifting her chest, she answered briefly. No, Nigel, I can't come. The doctor says I need to stay in bed. There's too much pressure on me. Honey, please, no pressure. Just a group of friends putting on a little play. I grabbed the phone. Niji, old man, I asked you not to pester Cadence. She will no longer be able to attend rehearsals or the opening night. I suggest you do as I previously said and find a replacement. His disappointment came out through a sigh. We just don't have time. Cadence, if you can hear me, I'm begging you. Don't ruin your reputation as an actress by turning your back on us. Harry can be very mean. If you leave, he promised he'll make sure you never do it again. Work in the industry. You're ruining her reputation yourself, Nigel, by releasing these terrible videos. If you're trying to win her back, you're doing it wrong. Look, Roger, we have a lot of money invested in this production. We've already paid Cadence a lot. If she doesn't show up, we'll lose a lot. If that happens, we'll sue. So be prepared, old man. If we sue, we'll take everything. Good luck with that. Cadence was at the doctor's. We have the correct documentation. She's sorry she can't be there. Like I said, we warned you in advance, so like I previously suggested, find a replacement. I hung up and looked at Cadence with a very serious look. If he calls again, be polite. Don't say anything unnecessary. I have a feeling that they are recording our conversations. This whole situation was scary, and I could see how it was affecting Cadence. She looked haggard and tired. She had cried so much over the past few days that her eyes were red and puffy. It's only 2 more weeks, Cadence. What if they're serious? What if they sue? We didn't do anything wrong. We have a letter from the doctor. But I lied. If we go to court, I'll have to tell the truth. Don't panic. Let's wait and see what happens. The next day, another video surfaced, and like the previous ones, it showed Cadence in a deep and passionate kiss. The video was accompanied by text. It was promoted as an advertisement. Come on an open night and see it live. Posters also appeared. They were posted all over the town. It was impossible to walk by without bumping into the poster. Some of the images showed Cadence in very revealing erotic clothing. I was completely shocked when I found one. I tore it off and drove home in anger. Cadence looked nervous when I burst into the house at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What are you doing at home? I threw the folded poster towards her. When did you pose for this? She unfolded the poster. I heard her sigh. Oh my God. She quickly looked at me. Roger, I never posed for this. It's photoshopped. The poster showed her wearing only very high heels, stockings, a very sexy corset, and nothing else. It was definitely Cadence's face, and her makeup was very sexy, bright red lipstick, lots of blush. But it's your face, isn't it? Yes, I remember that day. We were all doing publicity photos, but I was in my bright yellow sundress. I don't even have heels like that. Damn it, Cadence, this is pissing me off. She started crying again. I hated seeing her like this. I hugged her. Come on, love. Stop crying. I'm sorry, it made me so angry. She slipped into my arms, her head resting in the damp spot on my shoulder. I can't help but worry. I caused all this, it was stupid. I beat myself up all the time. I can't believe how naive I was. Cadence, everything will be fine. We just have to stick together, talk to each other openly. I hoped this would be the end, but no. The next day, when I returned home, I found a group of people standing near the front door. When I got out of the car, they ran up to me, bombarding me with questions. Damn reporters, I singled out one. Okay, can you tell me what's going on here? With a sneer, he asked, We're trying to find out the facts. How do you feel about your wife having sex with Nigel Jameson on stage live? What the hell are you talking about? One of them stepped forward, waving a newspaper. It's here, mate. Nigel says he and your wife were planning to have sex on stage during an upcoming play. There's a video from rehearsals. Did you know about it? There were microphones and cameras all around. I pushed through them and opened the front door. I found Felicity, Diana, and Cadence grouped together in the living room. Cadence was sobbing as Felicity and Diana sat on either side of her and hugged her. Felicity jumped up and ran towards me when she saw me. Thank God you're here. God, that damn Nigel. He's such a scoundrel. We hugged for a moment before I sat down next to Cadence. She wrapped her arms around me. It's all a lie. Roger, you have to believe me. It's okay, Cadence. I trust you. What the hell happened? Felicity chimed in. Sorry, Roger, but it's everywhere. On the radio, morning TV, and in the papers this morning. Nigel is spreading claims about how he and Cadence plan to have sex on stage during the damn play. We'll sue this bastard, I hissed angrily. I'm not sure it's that simple. Roger, it's going to be one of those he said, she said stories. Cadence began to cry. Diana looked at me worriedly. Everyone's talking about it, Dad. It was everywhere at school today. I walked back to the front of the house. The reporters clustered around me, leaning on my van. I'm going to come out now and make a statement. It's a lie, isn't it, Cadence? She burst into tears again. Felicity snorted. Roger, stop it. You know as well as I do that it's a lie. Oh my God. I ran outside and immediately found myself surrounded by these crazy people. Okay, you want a statement? Here it is. The whole story is made up. It's just a bunch of lies. Jameson is an old loser who is trying to attract attention to a failed show. My wife has never had sex with him and has never been a part of any conspiracy. What about the video? Shouted one guy, holding a microphone through the crowd. The video is fake. They were fully clothed under blankets. He's trying to create a story out of nothing. That's not what he said, someone behind him chuckled. You're just saying that because you're trying to protect her reputation. Come on, kid, tell the truth. That's the truth, I hissed. If you bastards don't get off my property in 5 minutes, I'm calling the police. After some glances around the group, I waved my arms in annoyance. Get out, that's it. Get the hell out of here. They stood still until I opened the door inside and shouted, Call the police. They all packed their things and left. I went inside, slamming the door. Felicity helped me prepare dinner, and we all sat down to eat. God, I wish I could hurt him somehow. I mean, really hit him where it hurts. Felicity, who never swore, replied, He's a complete idiot, and that bastard Harry is such a vile piece of shit. Diana laughed as we listened to Felicity speak out. It even made Cadence smile, perhaps for the first time in days. We talked about how we could take revenge on him. We talked about hitmen and car accidents, all kinds of evil plans. It was Diana who suggested the idea. Dad, you may not like it, but it will definitely hurt him. My ears perked up. Cadence frowned and Felicity laughed conspiratorially. Well, don't just sit there, D. Spit it out. Okay, but you can't take my head off. Come on, I barked. Okay, well, that would mean Mom would have to tell the reporters that they couldn't have sex because Jameson wasn't functioning. Oh my God, Diana. Oh my God, Felicity gasped in horror. I laughed. I couldn't help but laugh. The absurdity of it just made me laugh. Cadence caught my infection and started giggling. Then Dee and Felicity started laughing. We talked and laughed back and forth before Cadence said, I would love to do that. He's so selfish. It would really hurt him. He thinks he's a real ladies' man. He really means it, Felicity added. He's one of those horrible creatures. God, that would really hurt him. I got up quickly. Then let's do it. You'll have to be strong, Cadence, and there will be a hint that you were planning on actually having sex with him. She nodded. Can you handle this? If it hurts him, I'm all for it. We quickly organized the exact wording before Cadence walked through the door. The reporters clustered around. Cadence fell into her role. Okay, you all want a story. Well, the real truth is that Nigel actually tried to have sex with me. We planned to do it live on opening night, right there on stage. The problem is that he's old, and he didn't succeed. I mean, the poor guy tried. Harry, his boyfriend. Told me it's been like that for a long time. Excuse me, miss, but did you just say that Harry and Nigel are a couple? Well, I think so. They definitely spend a lot of time. They were delighted. They had their own sensational headlines. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared. The next day was chaotic. The headlines ran across most networks. The newspapers were covered with this story. Cadence was forgotten. All they wanted to talk about was Nigel and Harry. He, of course, denied everything. Harry called. I picked up the phone, and as soon as I picked up the phone, he started screaming. We'll sue you, you bloody idiot. We'll ruin you. You won't have 2 pence left when I'm done with you. That's funny, Harry. I would think someone like you would be proud to come out of the shadows. The funny thing was that after this, several male actors came forward about their affairs with Nigel. Some had photographs. It definitely took the attention away from us. Nobody cared about the play anymore. It was old news. Opening night was a disaster. Almost no one came. The play was supposed to run for 3 weeks, but once it became obvious that Cadence wasn't in it, no one cared. After that, it was hard. Cadence became a recluse. She was afraid to go outside. Her shame and embarrassment forced her to stay home. Diana tried to persuade her to do something with her. She just couldn't muster the strength. Felicity came almost every day to keep her company, but given that she had her own flower shop, she couldn't be there that often. I understood. I realized that it would be difficult. God, it was just as hard for me. After a month, I said enough. When I got home from work, I grabbed Cadence. Get dressed. We're going to the pub for dinner. Oh no, I can't. Please, Roger, I'd rather not go. Hell no, Cadence. We shouldn't be prisoners in our own home, so go and wear something nice. She frowned at my exclamatory tone. Roger. Cadence, I'm not going to be a prisoner in our own home, so go and get dressed. She slowly walked towards the bedroom, and I followed her a moment later to change clothes. I found her sitting on the edge of the bed, her hands clasped tightly together. I sat down next to her and hugged her. Come on, love. Be brave. After a lot of coaxing and encouragement, I finally got her to move. I made her wear one of her sexier summer dresses. We went out into the warm autumn evening. I tried to make it fun. I waved her arms around, holding her hand firmly but gently. We walked into the pub, and there was silence, even a few snarky remarks. But as soon as I ordered her a gin and tonic and myself a pint, normal activity resumed. We found a free table and sat down to order. This was hard. Cadence was in no mood to talk. I had to get every little word out of her. We ordered dinner, and people forgot about us. As usual, clients pestered me for work. A couple of friends came over and chatted. Slowly but surely, the old Cadence began to emerge. I made it my mission after that night. We went for evening walks, to which Dee sometimes accompanied us. We walked around the village and stopped at the pub for drinks or dinner. One day her phone rang, panicked. His new assistant quit, and he begged Cadence to come back to work, even if only for a short time. Once she got on the bike and got over the initial shock of returning to work, life began to return to normal, more or less. The only problem was that Cadence never fully recovered. Something was missing from her. Her passion disappeared, not just in the bedroom, which was awkward and a little mundane, if you will, not only in the bedroom, even in everyday life. The flame that had previously burned so brightly in her was now barely smoldering. It started to affect me. It affected everything we did, and I felt like our love, once so strong, was now fading. When she looked at me, there was dissatisfaction, discomfort, disappointment in her gaze. She tried to hide it. She smiled, we talked, but there was a problem, and it was getting bigger. I tried to talk to her, but she refused to open up. When I insisted, she became irritable and angry. I did the only thing I could think of. I talked to Felicity. I walked into her flower shop carrying 2 fresh takeout coffees from the cafe and a banana chocolate muffin. When she saw me, she smiled. Well, bearing gifts. That doesn't look good. How are you? Roger, dear? Handing her the coffee and muffin, I asked, "Can we talk?" She pulled back the curtain at the back of the store, and we sat down at a small table. What's the problem, Roger? It's Cadence. Something's going on, and she won't talk to me about it. I was hoping she might have something to tell you. She winced a little as she took a sip of the hot coffee. Yes, I see that too. She trusted me, but I would be breaking that trust if I told you. I understand. How about a little hint? A hint? Roger, honey, she's still struggling with what happened because of that damn play. She feels ashamed and embarrassed about what happened. I understand that, I replied. But I tried to make it easier. I never mention it. I never bring it up. Yes, well, please don't take it hard. There's one more thing. Roger, she feels like you've let her down. How can you say that? I was only being supportive. Perhaps in the end, yes. Yes, that's true. But what she told me, and this is with complete certainty, when she first told you that she wanted to take part in this role, you exploded and were more worried about what people would think. Well, of course I was. Damn it, Felicity, you were just the same. She nodded softly, acknowledging my comment. Yes, I didn't like that terrible play either. It was terrible, and I said so. But Cadence was hurt by the fact that you completely refused to support her. She felt like you were trying to control her. Using words like forbid didn't help. What else was I supposed to do? I don't know, dear. I understand your predicament. I'm just telling you what she told me. But do you agree with her? Partly, perhaps. Roger, you have always been such a strong supporter of Cadence. Always, no matter the weather, you were there for her. She relied on that. She depended on you like no one else. She admits that she was wrong. She, not stupid, Roger, but she, rightly or wrongly, feels that you rejected her aspirations, her dreams. You were more concerned with your reputation than with what she wanted. She took a large bite of her favorite cupcake and looked at me with a cautious and worried look. You must never say it came from me. You will have to find a way to broach the subject with her. Thank you, Felicity. You are a true friend. While we were drinking our coffees, she said, "We have a committee meeting next week. Will you come?" Yes, if you think it's important. I think it would be good if you could come. We need to work out some things. I'm going to suggest doing another play, something that can get us back on track. Do you have ideas? I asked. No, not yet. It should be something we can all take on. I really hope Cadence comes. Did she say anything to you? Yeah, she said she didn't want anything to do with society anymore. Crap. Yes, indeed. Perhaps you could talk to her, encourage her. Of course I'll do my best, but if she refuses, I'll do the same. She nodded. I know. I tried to find a way to start a conversation with Cadence, but every time I was met with discontent. Other than starting with, "We need to talk," I couldn't do it. As I thought about Felicity's comments, I realized there was some truth to them. I was so unhappy with her willingness to participate that I quickly started building walls instead of looking for ways to build a bridge. The upcoming meeting of the Drama Society presented me with an opportunity, if only I could find something suitable. It was Diana who gave me the plan. It was unexpected. I found her one day reading the old script for that damn play. When I saw it, I exclaimed excitedly, "Damn it, why are you reading this nonsense?" Confused and embarrassed, she mumbled, "I'm rewriting it for a school project." What the hell? Hasn't that damn thing done enough damage? Dad, stop it. You know how much I love writing. We were given a project to take something bad and make it better. And I think I've really improved. Diana, the bar wasn't that high. Dad, if you cut out some of the nude scenes and tone down the language, it's actually not that bad. I tried to add a little drama, and I think it's pretty good now. When I frowned at her, she asked, "Do you want to read? Give me a critique." With a deep sigh, I said, "Yeah, okay. Give me a copy and I'll read it." She handed me a copy and I went into the garden. I read it slowly. As I read, I realized her abilities. I understood what she meant. The real story was believable and quite interesting. Nigel, in his infinite wisdom, covered it in mud in an attempt to attract an interested audience. Diana cleaned up most of the junk and included new, deeper writing and character development. She even added some levity, although when I saw my husband's overreaction, I realized that I was actually doing some of the dialogue. God, was I really that superficial? Worried more about myself than about my wife? I had to read it again. I grinned and ground my teeth. She was very talented. It was actually very good. I hated it and loved it. When I returned, I ran into her. She was waiting for the moment to pounce. "Well, what do you think?" "I am impressed. You have done a wonderful job. This is very good." "Dad, it wasn't that bad at first. Old pervert Nigel just flooded him with sex in the hopes of making him attractive." "Yes, my dear, I see it. You did a wonderful job. You are smart." She hugged me. "Thank you, Dad." "So what are you going to do about it?" I asked. A plan was developing in my head. "I have to hand it in next week. I hope to get good grades." "Why are you asking?" "Well, I think it would be great for a theater group. Felicity said they were looking for a new project." She smiled, then frowned. "Do you think they will be interested?" "Yes, I think they would do it. Did your mother see this?" "God, no. I didn't want to show it to her. I thought it might open old wounds. You know, Dad, she's still suffering." "Of course, dear. I understand it. I really think this might help her. I think she will be pleased to read this." With a deep sigh, she said, "Okay, but if she throws a tantrum, it will be on your conscience." "Do you have a spare copy? Would I like to show it to Felicity?" Armed with my copy, I met Felicity again for lunch. As I handed over the script, I said, "Read this. I would like to suggest it for the group's next project." She scanned it quickly. He splattered coffee everywhere as she gasped. "Oh my God, Roger, are you serious? Read before jumping to conclusions. I think it's pretty good." She continued reading while I drank my tea. "Diana wrote this." I nodded. "Yeah, and honestly, as biased as I can be, it's actually pretty good." She drank the rest of her coffee as she flipped through the pages. She laughed a little, looking at me. "You realize it's you, right?" Again, I nodded. Yes, the irony of the situation is not lost on me. After finishing our drinks, we shared a quick hug. "Roger, I think you're right. This is really good. Diana has obvious talent. There are some serious concerns, though. Diana did a wonderful job of rewriting it, but it still belongs to Nigel." I nodded in agreement. "If you think this is something the group might want to do, I'll deal with him." Did Cadence see this? "No, not yet. I was hoping she might turn on. She's been so empty lately. She needs something." Felicity squeezed my hand. "Yeah, she's really in a pretty dark place. I think you're right. But when I asked her about coming to the committee meeting, she didn't sound excited. She's still shy." That night, Cadence seemed thoughtful. The mood was cooler than usual. Diana and I exchanged glances. The conversation was easy. No script was mentioned. Diana and I both volunteered to do the dishes. "Did you give it to her?" "Yes, Pap, finally." "Did you mention what I asked you to give her?" She shook her head as Cadence brought in more dirty dishes. Nothing was said until the day before the committee meeting. Felicity called me. "Roger, I've discussed the script with several members. I must say, for the most part, they are very interested. They would like to show the community what we can do when the script is right." "Okay then, I guess I better talk to Nigel." "Roger, Diana has done wonders with this. She really has talent. Do you think she'd like to be involved? Just as a consultant, give us a little direction. I'll talk to her. I'm not sure she'll want to, but who knows? Have you discussed this with Cadence? No, she read it. Diana gave her a copy, but she didn't mention it to me. You better hurry, dear. There's not much time left. Nigel, how to approach him. All day I thought about how to approach him. Finally, I decided what the hell, I'll just call. He obviously didn't recognize my number. Hello, Nigel Jamison. Hi, Nigel, it's Roger. Do you have a minute to talk? What do you want, you little bastard? I want to discuss your script. What about him? My daughter rewrote it, and the Theater Society would like to stage it. Ha, ha, you want to use my script? Well, I admire your chutzpah. Do what you want. I don't care. If I send you an email, could you respond with your consent? Yes, of course. Send this to my assistant. She will sort it out. I'm very busy right now. Now all I had to do was convince Cadence. Over dinner I asked, "Are you going to a committee meeting tomorrow, honey?" She gave me an uncertain look. No, I didn't plan to. You know, I suggested that we direct Diana's script. What? She gasped. When did you read it? For a long time. I liked it. I gave it to Felicity, and she really liked it. What are you doing? My God, Roger. After everything you've done, now you want to do this. Yeah, now that's a great script. It's a good story, and I think it's worth the effort. I don't believe you sometimes, Roger. She angrily pushed the plate away and went into the bedroom. Diana looked at me. Do you really think they'll be interested, Dad? Absolutely, honey. Felicity was delighted. She even asked if you would like to be involved as a consultant. She pouted. Depends. If Mom participates, I will too. But if not, I'll stay away. Pushing my chair back, I said, well, I guess I should do something about this. I found Cadence curled up on the bed, crying. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I ran my hand along her thigh. I'm sorry you won't come to the committee meeting. I was hoping you'd be willing to take the lead role. She sat up, her eyebrows hiding her anger. What do you want? My God, Roger, you fought me every step of the way. You refused to support me through everything. You threw me under the bus. All those terrible things you said to me. Now you want me to be part of this. Cadence, I failed you. I'm sorry for the way I acted. I should have handled it better. I'm not sorry for what I said about Nigel. I got angry when you completely ignored me. You pushed everything aside from my concerns. I don't apologize for that, but you're right. I should have been more supportive and communicated better. She sobbed softly, her hand sliding over mine. Thank you for saying that. I'm sorry too. I was so enamored that I let it take over me. I saw you jealous, then controlling. I didn't even realize how stupid I was. I was jealous, Cadence. I was worried. You were so easily influenced by that creep. I was really afraid that you would do something stupid. I should have trusted you, talked to you, and not acted like a jerk. No, you were right. I behaved badly. That's why I can't go back. Everyone will laugh at me. Cadence, if they laugh, it'll be at my expense. I'm going to go out and promote this damn play. If they laugh, it'll be at my expense. They'll laugh at us. They've been laughing for months. This is a new beginning, Cadence. I know how much you love acting. I desperately want you to do it. She wiped away her tears. Do you realize there will still be kissing? The corners of her lips turned up in a mocking smile. Yes, but I don't think you'll like it. I'm going to suggest that old Jeffrey play the male role. Oh, God. Then I'm definitely not going to play the lead. I laughed quietly. That smile eased my tension. Actually, I don't know who will play the lead role. Would you be happy to see me involved, knowing that I would be kissing another man? Yes, I was more worried about the nudity. Cadence, you are a beautiful, sexy, gorgeous woman. Most of the men in this rural community lust after you. I accept that. In fact, I'm proud of it. But seeing you on stage in stockings, heels, and little negligee, that's different, especially with his nasty hands on you. She sobbed. Do you still think I'm attractive? Do I think, my God, darling, you are amazingly beautiful, the most magnificent woman I have ever seen. She pressed herself close to me. Could we do that, Roger? Enter this meeting. Of course we can. We've both made mistakes. That doesn't mean we have to spend the rest of our lives as hermits. Will you hold my hand? I will, proudly. I love you, Cadence. Always have. That's why it hurts so much. I love you too. I'm sorry I hurt you. I promise I'll never do that again. We actually walked into this meeting holding hands. I felt confident standing up and promoting the damn play. I felt Cadence shake when Felicity asked her if she would take the lead role. I heard her take a deep breath when she said yes. I have to admit that my heart skipped a beat when Felicity offered Aaron the male lead. He was a young guy. I recently joined the group. In the late 20s, he was the local hottie. He was single, handsome, and it made me shudder. I helped Cadence rehearse her lines, enjoying the kissing scenes. I attended every rehearsal. I sat and watched nervously. Of course, kissing hurts a little. Watching them kiss, and it was a steam kiss, filled me with anxiety. Having Diana by my side helped. After the first time they kissed, I saw Cadence sneak a glance at me to see how I was coping. It took several rehearsals before I was able to ask. Nice kiss, ha. Very good actually. She giggled sexily. After a few more rehearsals, I asked, better kiss than with Nigel. She was shocked, but quickly came to her senses. Darling, it may sound like I'm being dishonest, but Nigel was a terrible kisser. Wet, too much tongue. He was terrible. The play became a resounding success. The reviews were loud. This was the first of many Diana plays that the theater produced. She had real talent, and it blossomed into a very successful career. She went to university, and our nest was completely empty. She left a huge hole in our home and our hearts. This time, at least, we were prepared for it. We talked, and the communication was honest. We took the opportunity to travel. Cadence did so well in the lead role in Diana's rewrite of Nigel's play that she actually landed several real acting roles. It's nothing special, but she can now proudly say that she has played roles in 2 of Britain's most popular TV series, several films. Nothing famous, but still, it's part of her story now. For me, it was an acknowledgement that jealousy can be such a destructive emotion. The way Nigel got into Cadence's heart really affected me in a way that made me just react. I haven't thought it through. If only I had seen me push her into a corner, and she reacted the only way she could. She resisted. We came out of this with a saved marriage, and now it is bright and happy. We talk and joke about the love scenes in which she participated. Life couldn't be better. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.